What you're looking at here are windows inside the Kamal Adwan hospital in northern Gaza. They are covered with sandbags for the fear of snipers. According to the hospital's director, this is the only hospital providing any humanitarian services in the north. And yet this is the scene of devastation that they are facing each and every day. Over the past 24 hours, health officials have reported intense Israeli attacks on the hospital, including on the ICU maternity ward and the neonatal unit. Because the hospital has been hit repeatedly, this video from Tuesday is one of the latest our team was able to verify. Kamal Adwan, along with the entirety of northern Gaza, have been under total Israeli siege for more than 70 days now, since early October. But the situation is still dire for everyone throughout the besieged strip. Here are scenes from the aftermath of an Israeli airstrike on a house in Deir al-Balah earlier today. Again, this is in central Gaza. Among the 11 people killed were Dr. Nasser, who used to work at Al-Shifa Hospital, his wife, and Dr. Ahmed al-Dahiri, a university professor, his wife, and 3 children. The homeowner was also killed, along with his wife and kids. For more than 400 days, these scenes have become the norm. Whole families are being killed. Hospitals, schools that are being targeted, barely functioning, all of them destroyed, no ceasefire or end in sight. Earlier, I spoke with Louise Wateridge, Digital Communication and Social Media Officer at UNRWA, about these ongoing attacks and more. And she was speaking to us from central Gaza. Louise, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We've seen these reports about the intense Israeli attacks on Kamal Adwan Hospital this weekend in North Gaza. We know that you're in central Gaza, but what have you heard? What can you tell us about the attacks on this hospital as of this hour?
It's been nearly 80 days that the north part of the Gaza Strip has been under this very strict siege and continued military operations. What we're hearing the last 24 hours is it just keeps intensifying. Every single day we hear reports from medical staff who are still there trying to provide whatever care and treatment they can to people who are trapped in these areas, who are trying to find shelter in these areas. We have very limited access. We've continued to have repeated denial of the United Nations to these areas. And it's just unimaginable. It really is unimaginable, the suffering and pain that people are being put through in these areas and the continued really, really intense operations around the hospital and around the residential areas where people are just trying to find some kind of safety.
We know these attacks have continued all throughout the besieged Gaza Strip. Just last week, at least 36 people were killed in an Israeli strike on the Nusayrat refugee camp where you are now located. Just in the past 24 hours, you've had 32 Palestinians that have been killed throughout the Strip, according to the health ministry there. How often are you seeing strikes? Is there any warning from Israeli forces to you and your team when they do actually carry out attacks or not?
As I'm speaking to you now, there are strikes going on all around me. I hear there's been reports of a strike in Mawasi. This is supposed to be the humanitarian zone. This is supposed to be a designated safe area for families to shelter. It's been hit in a strike once again, just in the last half an hour or so. And there's been some very heavy and severe bombings. It shakes the entire building. It shakes the floor. And it's been relentless. The last couple of nights, it's been all through the night. I saw my colleagues and friends today. People are exhausted. There's no warning. It's Navy fire. It's drones. It's strikes. It is just relentless. And it's really, it just has such a psychological effect on people that you can't sleep. You can't plan anything. You can't plan movement. If you try and go and get some flour or some food or anything like this, you can be caught out in any kind of attack or strike. And this has been going on 14 months. This isn't a new situation. It's just relentless.
Let me ask you more about the north for a moment, because the UN has said that it has been largely blocked from getting aid into northern Gaza for the last 2 months since the area first came under Israelis' total siege. There are some 75,000 people who are still in the north. Just tell us, what is actually stopping the aid from getting through? And more importantly, what are you hearing about how those 75,000 people there are literally surviving day in and day out?
From what we hear and what we see, anywhere in this besieged north area is flattened. It's not habitable anymore. It's completely decimated. We know areas around the Gaza Strip, around Gaza City, for example, are resembling this. Khan Yunis resembles this. These areas, they were once cities that are absolutely flattened. And now this is what Jabalia looks like. Now this is what Beit Hanun looks like. It's unrecognizable. And we continue to be denied access. And when I say that, I mean, WFP tweeted yesterday, 97% of their requests have been denied. 97%.
What reason does the Israeli
to do what we can.
What reason does the Israeli military give you when they are denying you access to these areas?
Sometimes no reason, sometimes military operations. It depends. It really depends on the mission. It depends on the day. Sometimes there's no information. So it's very difficult for us to plan or to know why or which areas. We've had some missions where certain areas we're not allowed to go, but those areas will be where the hospitals are or the people are. Sometimes we're denied even taking food or medical supplies in the convoys. There have been, at the beginning of last month, medical evacuations, but then they weren't allowed to take medical supplies with them. They weren't allowed to take food with them. They weren't allowed to take water with them. It's just inhumane. It's absolutely inhumane.
If the 75,000 people there wanted to leave, or if they wanted to evacuate the hospital, is Israel even giving them safe passage to get to other parts of Gaza where it may be safer? I know no part of Gaza is safe, but relatively speaking to what we're seeing right now in the north, would they be given evacuation passageways to get to other areas from Kamal Adwan Hospital in the north?
I've spoken to a lot of families in Gaza City over the last few weeks who have just fled this besieged north area. And what is noticeable actually is that these families are female. I asked them, you know, where are your relatives? Where are your family? Tell me what's happened. And they tell me that the male relatives, the husbands, the brothers, the sons, the fathers, they were detained or they were shot. That's the answer that they have. There's no safety. I met an 80-year-old woman in a wheelchair. She said her young male relatives were pushing her and they were shot and killed in front of her. And she was left there stranded, waiting to be saved. Another family had to continue pushing her out of the area. People hear about this. People know about these experiences. People talk to each other. There's no safety. Where do they want people to move when there's no safety? Families are just trying to stay together and stay alive. There's no reason for them to move and be forcibly displaced for the 14th, 15th, 16th time to another area just to die there. They don't want to do that. They want to stay where they are. They want to stay with their families, and they just want to try and stay alive.
We are more than 400 days into what leading human rights organizations are now calling a genocide. What is your message to the international community of either health officials, human rights activists, the politicians, the diplomats that continue to see these horrific scenes, continue to see these atrocities, and completely unable to rein Israel in or to end this war as the media coverage of Gaza continues to dwindle?
It's unforgivable. I've been here since the Rafah incursion. It was unforgivable then, it's unforgivable now. We're seeing people, they're helpless. My colleague was down in Rafah when the strikes, there was a child who was burning alive, headless, and it went viral, and all eyes were on Rafah, we were told. The same thing is happening now. The same thing is happening today in the besieged north. It's no doubt happening in Nusayrat. It's probably happening in Mawasi while I'm speaking to you. Every day. How is this happening? It's been 14 months. It's absolutely unforgivable that nothing is being done. The journalists on the ground are risking life and limb on a daily basis to show the world what is happening. We know what is happening. We're telling you what is happening. It's not okay. It's not okay that this inaction continues. It needs to stop. There has to be a ceasefire. It is the only hope now.
All right, Louise Wateridge, we continue to keep the spotlight on what is happening in Gaza. We thank you and your team for everything you're doing, and certainly thank you for joining us this evening and giving us a glimpse of what continues to happen there. Thank you. Please stay safe.
Thank you.